One of the things I want to touch on is there's a quote people say, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that when you feel overwhelmed or you feel pressure, you create, you draw, you do your art. You mentioned that you go out and you take drives. My escape, so to speak, I don't know if that's the right term or word, but how I center myself, how I relax, is I watch movies. Or I got to remove myself from an environment and either drive or escape watching a movie or just some form of content. You mentioned art, you mentioned movies. I'd like to hear from you all, when you do feel this pressure, you do feel overwhelmed, what's next? Where do you go from there?
I'm kind of in a sense of you where I kind of escape reality for a minute when it comes to just watching television, cartoons. I'm an anime fan, I like anime. I go watch anime sometimes and kind of just enjoying because in a weird way sometimes I can relate to some of the characters in the show and you can kind of relate to how they're going through it and you can see you kind of get that progression and you feel relaxed because you're now no longer in reality, you're focusing on what's happening in the story. So that's definitely my escape. It's just television, TV, YouTube, even sports. Sometimes when a sports game comes on, I just indulge in sports for a long period of time. So just indulging in any sort of media.
So once I start a painting, depending on if it's small or big, I have to finish it. And after I get done finish it, I go in there with my brother and out of nowhere, I start to crack jokes with him. I gotta feel some type of positivity after I get all this stress out or emotion out. So I like to crack jokes with him, and he says I'm a comedian, so it makes me feel good inside. And I just start to walk around the house and just go on about my life. I can't let a small situation hold me back from doing something I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay, that's not really finished.
I got something.
Okay.
So when I do my videos and stuff, I will go take a little tiny break and come back to it. Cause sometimes I do pressure myself. I feel like I need to do more because I'll be watching these other YouTubers. They got 10 million subscribers and I'm sitting here with 700 subscribers. But I have grown my channel. Started working.
I do.
So lately, have you been focusing more on your growth?
Yes.
And has that helped you?
Yes.
Josh over here. I just wanted to talk about being by yourself a little bit. That's honestly one of the ways I deal with my pressures and stress. I like to go off and be by myself and not really talk to anybody. It's not always a good thing. Sometimes it is, but it can make you feel like you alone, nobody really there for you. And one thing I have found that a lot of people who are going through things like that and pressures and stress, they do actually have people who are willing to be there and help them and that they can talk to, but they're just so used to being by themselves, like we said, and don't like talking about it, that the other people that we know and love that want to help us and be there for us, they literally don't know what we're going through because we don't talk about it. So as much as you can, if you really know that you got somebody who's in your corner, don't take the easy way out all the time. Just go be by yourself. Sometimes you really, got to sit down and talk about those things that are bothering you because it helps. And like I said, those people really love you and want to be there for you. And you don't want to learn everything experiencing it through yourself. People way older than us have done things that we've done before, have been through the same things that we had before, and those experiences that they been through and things that happen to them can stop us from being hurt the way that they were, or as much or as severe. So talk as much as you can. That's what I was saying.
I think Josh said something that's really, really important that we can tune into, is that depression, anxiety, those things that we keep talking about, that they seek isolation. They want you to isolate. Depression, anxiety breeds itself. It gets bigger when you isolate, right? It gets a chance to really grab a hold of you when you're isolated away from everyone else. So connected to that, when Kev asked the question about pressure, every single answer was connected to the family. Every answer was connected somehow to your family. And you had some very profound thoughts and ideas about where this pressure comes from. But so if you could share that here, one of the things I wonder, and you all answer this however you can, do you ever tell your family that you're feeling that pressure?
It's a complicated answer for me because my granddad's a Southern man. He grew up in the time of racism in the South. Yeah, he had this whole thing about him coming from the bottom to the top. But I was like, in my head, I was like, sir, you can't really relate your story to mine because I didn't grow up with racism. I didn't grow up with one pair of pants. I didn't grow up walking 5 miles to school. I can't relate to you in that sense. And you can't relate to me in my sense. So it's kind of hard for us to kind of agree on things. Like there was a story today, he signed me up for football. I had a whole traumatic experience with my football team. I was like, I ain't going back to him. That coach disrespected me. He disrespected me. I can't go back to that man. And he had like, I need you to work out. I'm like, sir, I'll work out, just not with him. And it's like we butt heads because it's like, and that's the pressure I have on him because, you know, I think he puts me on a pedestal. And I've always said, in my eyes, like, your expectations may be up here. And yes, I'll reach it one day, but don't make me just shoot to the top floor. Let me take the flights of stairs all the way up to the top. That's how I always imagined it. Let me walk at my own pace. I don't need to sprint up the stairs to get up there. And it's kind of like that. It's like, I may not want to be day one out in college, degree and everything. Maybe I want to go to acting school, voice acting school, like what I wanted to do. Maybe I want to get more money so I could actually go to school without having to blow my life savings away. And it's things like that we kind of butt heads about because it's so hard for us to kind of relate to each other in that sense where it's like, my mind works different from yours. You may relate to me most of the time, but up here it's hard to relate to one another because you don't truly know what others are thinking.
And one thing is that I don't go home with you guys at the end of the day, so I mean, it's easy to talk to y'all because I know, well, I won't see them for a little bit, you know? But like when I go home, once I bring it up, it's a long conversation, a conversation that may turn into something else that I don't want it to. And sometimes like when I'm talking to my parents, it turns into something totally different than what I really wanted to. And, you know, me being young, you know, sometimes I have to go to my brother to see if he can, you know, try to change that conversation to where I'm not about to get upset, you're not about to get upset, and no one's gonna be upset with each other for like a whole entire day. Because, you know, that's not how I like to be in my household, you know, and all that conflict is not really good for you.
Yeah.
And so the better you can talk about it and simplify it in baby steps, it's the better.
It's because it's hard. It's hard really because it's just sometimes parent takes you saying your opinion as you being disrespectful. And it's hard for sometimes a parent to differentiate you being honest and genuine from you just talking back.
If I can interject and say something, you know, and I guess I'm coming from the perspective of a father too. And, you know, certainly I've been on the other end, you know, of things too. Certainly parents want to understand what their kids are going through and want to be able to empathize with them. I think it has to be, you know, we both should strive to be reciprocal, see things from everybody's, you know, perspective. I can tell you this, and I'm sure, you know, men in this room can attest to that. Being a parent is the hardest job that I've ever had. It's 24/7, 365. You can't retire from it. Even when they're 18, I got a 23 and a 20-year-old. I worry about them. And I got, you know, not only my own individual stresses, but I got, you know, a daughter who's experiencing depression. And if I wish I could take away some of that burden and carry it for her. But, you know, I also know that, you know, there's some struggles that are good, or some things that she has to find her way through, you know, and I got to work on, you know, it's interesting. I tell people my father was a psychologist, but, you know, my father, you know, he used to use, I say, these disciplinary strategies. He used to use positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, overcorrection, belt therapy, all sorts of stuff. But sometimes, you know, he had a paddle that he got a conviction that the heck with psychology on it. It's written on it. Sometimes even we as psychologists or therapists, sometimes we forget, you know, what it's like, or sometimes we're so invested in the situation that it's hard for us, you know, to sort of back away, be more objective, because we care about you, we're attached to you. And sometimes when people don't know how to solve your problems, parents, we feel powerless. And sometimes that powerlessness might come out in some anger or some, you know, irritability or a lack of patience. But we really want to take away that burden. We don't want you to go through those challenges. We want your life to be easy, even though we got to realize struggle can be good. They're going to find, you know, we got to trust. You're going to find your way.
As we, it looks like we're about to close right now. Before we get out of here, is any final thoughts, any final words, any last messages?
We want to thank all of y'all for having us here today for this wonderful event.
We thank you.
And thank you all for supporting my initiative and her initiative as well for the mental health campaign we're trying to push throughout this year. Thank you to Jackson, thank you to Royce, thank you to all of y'all, and thank you to everyone behind the crew for bringing us here today. And of course, thank you as well.
Well, the biggest thank you is to y'all, man.
That's right.
Yeah, the biggest thank you all for showing up, for being yourselves, for being open, for being honest, for listening, for asking questions, for offering your truth. Thank you all.